What's up, boys and girls? One Piece chapter 1048. Let's begin. On the cover page we see Brûlé fisting a mirror while Cracker is eating a cracker, sitting down and he's covered in bandages, indicating that he was involved in a fight, presumably with the Germa 66. And judging by the thought bubble or the speech bubble on Brûlé, the Germa are back to save the other members from the Mondor's book. Okay, let's get to the interesting stuff now, to the actual chapter. The title of the chapter is 20 years, referring of course back to Oden's execution 20 years ago, and also subsequently the 20 years of suffering after that of the Wano citizens under the new rule of Orochi and Kaido, which we delve into later in the chapter. Also, let's remember Toki's prophecy that said, "You are the moon unaware of the sun. May your purpose be fulfilled and cast 9 shadows in this 20-year moonlit night." Wait, is that what it said? And cast 9 shadows on the night woven of 20 years, and you shall know the brilliance of the dawn, and all that. Burn the witch! So who are the 9 shadows? The chapter opens up with Momonosuke's point of view, who has the task of moving the island out of the way. Momonosuke remembers the words of his mother, Toki, that one day he will revive the Kozuki clan in the future. Interesting word choice, especially if you believe in the whole the dead people coming back theory, because the Fire Festival is a ceremony of communicating with the dead by sending those lanterns that we see in the last part of the chapter, but we'll get on that later. And Onigashima, since it's on fire, it resembles a giant lantern like that, so it should have a greater effect, you know, reaching to the dead. I won't bore you with the details, but it's a theory I heard from Joy Boy, you know, the whole ghost piece stuff. Anyway, Momonosuke then uses his head to find a solution. Headbutting the island. That should work. Then we see Luffy versus Kaido. I like how Luffy is floating in the air for some time there. Reminds me of the fight with Enel on the final blow. Well, he was on the air for quite some time, at least in the anime. Kaido says, "I will take this hit head on." I hope this is not the cause of his defeat. That he chose, you know, to take this one. That it was avoidable, but he's trying to prove something and now he will defeat it like that. I think that would be a little bit underwhelming. He then reminds us of Oden's death by burning. Conveniently, he excludes the detail that after that he shot him in the head, but I guess he was trying to make the point. He was trying to connect the burning with his new transformation, a giant flaming dragon, flaming drum dragon to be exact. Now Kaido is engulfed in flames and it seems like his size, you know, increased. He says that Wano has been waiting for the saviors. Is this referring to the Toki's prophecy or the Joy Boy one? Or are they one and the same? Probably the latter. He says that he will vaporize Luffy's fist before coming down to hit him. And we do see that the flames that he has on his body now actually do a lot of damage, because he grazes the horn of the skull of Onigashima and it gets destroyed. So now both of the horns of the skull are destroyed. The other one, of course, was cut by Zoro. It's also quite interesting that Kaido is willing to take the punch from Gear 5th Luffy head on, but he avoided the slash from Zoro that cut the horn of Onigashima. Zoro stronger than Luffy confirmed. Luffy says that he doesn't need to make contact with Kaido to hit him, since he learned from Grandpa Hyo this, you know, haki. In Wano they call Ryo. And interestingly, he says that he's gonna send Kaido to hell. This is the first reference of hell in this chapter, and it's not the only one, as we'll see later. Luffy then hits Kaido with a new attack. Both Kaido and Luffy show new attacks. By the way, I've seen speculation that this is Kaido's awakening, which is another reason that if he gets defeated right now, it would be a bit underwhelming, you know, right after unveiling his trump card. But it's not the first time we see that happening. Back with the Enel fight again, right before the final blow, Enel transformed into his elemental form like Kaido's now. Although, of course, Enel's form is pure lightning. I think it was called something like Amaru. Anyway, we see the clash between Luffy and Kaido with their new attacks, Blazing Bagua and Bajrangan. Bairangan, I don't know. Back inside Onigashima now, Usopp drops down Kiku and Kinemon. Could this be a sort of hint that they are dead? Or I guess that would be a bit improbable since, you know, One Piece and all. And they did have great moments before for a more suitable death for a samurai. But it could be also alluding to another, you know, ominous thing in the background, like, I don't know, the raid failing or the infamous Act 3 tragedy, if you still believe on the 5-act structure. I do expect a plot twist from Oda, but I'm not sure where exactly it would be. We then go back in time, specifically on the day of Oden's execution, where we see the scabbards running away, and Orochi says they're going to guard Momonosuke, Oden's son. And for some reason, this is a bit weird. Kaido seems to doesn't know that Oden has a son. I'm pretty sure that he should have known, because that's how he won the fight against Oden in the first place. Because he got distracted by his son, or what he thought it was his son. It was the old lady, but she transformed into Momonosuke and yelled like, "Dad, help!" Right? So he should have an idea. I guess we'll have to wait for the official translation to see if there's a difference there. Kaido then starts clobbering the bystanders, while Orochi, of course, orders any citizen that defies him to get shot right then and there. Oh, classic Orochi. We then cut to the ruins of the Oden's castle that is now burning, and the declaration that the Kozuki line is dead, but we know they went to the future through Toki's power. But they got defeated, and so the daimyo are then brought before Kaido and Orochi to see if they are for or against them. A difficult situation. Or not, because to them it's a stupid question with an obvious answer, they say, as they start to unsheath their swords. By the way, who is that on the first panel there, where we see the hand only and the handle of the sword? Is that supposed to be one of them or someone else entirely? The sword with the flower patterns does remind me of Oden's swords. It could also be Sutenmaru because he has a similar sword, but I think the most probable one would be Hyogoro, unless I'm getting the timeline, confused, because we know that at one point he fought against Kaido and then got imprisoned in Udon. This chapter, I would say, is on the darker side, especially for One Piece, because of the imagery that's depicted, that we see after that, like, of course, war, the samurai against Kaido, and we see Kaido obliterating the Wano forces, with presumably some deaths there. We also see a guy cosplaying someone from the Naruto verse, which I guess is not that bad, so that's one of the tragic things that's happening, war. Then we see slave labor on the factories of Kaido, we see kidnapping the men from their families, the abled young men, as Orochi instructs. We see environmental pollution, specifically on the water supplies and the crops. In one of the darker panels, we see someone with a baby on their back heading to a tree with a hanging noose, alluding to their suicide. Pretty heavy stuff. My friend told me that this baby is Zoro, because if we think about the timing, if this was 20 years ago, and this baby who is already born is like 20 and 1, is 21, which is coincidentally the age of Zoro right now. And this is where the similarities end. If this was the origin of Zoro, it would be kind of similar to Guts from Berserk, with his mother hanging, on the trees and a baby found right below. We also see the imprisoned guys there falling down due to exhaustion, being taunted by the guards. And also that noose from before, we see a close-up of it and it seems that it has blood on it. I told you this is a dark chapter, and we're not even finished. Next we see one of the biggest tragedies in One Piece. The starving people of Ebisu town that had to eat the defective smiles since they didn't have anything else to eat. And now the only thing that they can express is the fake happiness through the forced laughter. And I like on the next page the juxtaposition of Orochi dancing and laughing, you know, with his prostitutes or whatever they're called on his palace. And next to that, we see a kid laughing on a graveyard because of the smile fruit, and he's presumably right in front of his parents' grave. God damn. We then go back to the present, seeing Orochi, who is also on fire, trying to take down Komurasaki, or Hiyori to be exact. He specifically says, "I'll be seeing you in hell." Now this is the second reference to hell in this chapter. But right before he does, guess who's back? Back again. It's Denjiro, coming out of nowhere, literally, because he was nowhere to be found for the last, I don't know, 50 chapters. And he cuts clean the head of Orochi. The last fucking head, I hope. So now Orochi should be dead. And not only because this is the last head, but if we take into consideration the Greek myth about the Hydra, which I know is not the direct inspiration for Orochi's fruit, but we also know that Oda takes inspirations from multiple sources and combines them and makes something new out of them. But in the Greek mythology, Hercules, to defeat the Hydra, had to burn the wound after cutting their heads off so they wouldn't grow back. So maybe this is a reference to that. And another reason that he should be dead, or at least at the very least defeated, is we see on one of those little floating boats from the Fire Festival with the wishes of the Wano citizens that is saying, "Please make Orochi disappear." And now their wish came true. This is the night that their wishes will come true, right? The Wano people are sending their wishes to the sky, to the man in the clouds. And in this case, Luffy, who is on the clouds, ready to take down Kaido. And the third reference on this chapter to hell is another wish on these floating boats, which says, "Free us from this hell." And then finally we close with Luffy and Kaido ready to have their final clash, supposedly. I like what Oda did there with the flames from Kaido and the haki from Luffy's fist, making it look like a moon or a sun, you know, because it's dispersing through the clouds. But is this the final blow? So would Luffy attack right now with all of them down there? Another thing is that the Wano citizens are not aware of the situation, and typically at the end of the arc they are all witnessing the victory of Luffy. I guess we will have to wait and see. That's it for today. Peace out. See you next week.